In the winter of 1907, 12 miners went down into a coal shaft in eastern Kentucky. By the next morning, that shaft was filled with concrete, sealed, erased from every map, and not one of the men who went down there ever spoke about what they saw. This is the story of what they found 300 feet below Kentucky, and the speed with which it was buried again. I don't deal in legends. I deal in records, company logs, payroll sheets, newspaper columns, things written down by people who had no reason to lie. And the records from that mine don't add up. The Blackwood Coal Company opened shaft number 9 in the autumn of 1906. It was an ordinary operation. Coal, timber, iron track. Nothing unusual. For 14 months, it produced coal like any other mine in the region. Then, on the 9th of January, 1907, the company records simply stop. No closure notice, no accident report, no explanation. The shaft that had been producing coal for over a year is, from that date forward, listed in company documents as collapsed and sealed. But here is the problem. There was no collapse. The geological survey of that hillside, conducted in 1911, found no evidence of any cave-in. The rock was stable. The tunnels were intact. Something sealed that mine deliberately from the outside, and then wrote collapse in the record. Why would a company destroy a working, profitable coal shaft overnight? And why lie about how? To answer that, we have to go down. The men who worked shaft number 9 were experienced miners. Most had spent their whole lives underground. They knew rock. They knew what belonged down there and what didn't. On the 8th of January, a digging crew broke through the wall of a new tunnel, expecting more coal seam. Instead, according to the one account that survives, they broke into open space. Not a natural cavern, not a gap in the rock. A room with a floor, with walls made of fitted stone, with a ceiling far higher than any miner would ever cut. 300 feet below the surface of Kentucky, there was architecture. Now, the only reason we know any of this is because of one man. His name was Elias Reed. He was the shift foreman that night, and 40 years later, as an old man, he told the story to his grandson, who wrote it down. That written account sat in a family drawer until it was donated to a regional historical archive in 1994. According to Reed, the crew stopped digging the moment they saw the stone wall. They called him down. He brought a lantern. And what the lantern showed him, he said, he never forgot for the rest of his life. Beyond the broken wall was a street, an underground street, paved, lined on both sides with the fronts of buildings, doorways, window openings, steps. All of it carved from the same pale stone. All of it buried in a fine gray silt that had hardened like cement. The buildings were too tall. The doorways were too wide. Everything was built to a scale that did not fit an ordinary man. And at the end of the street, half buried in the hardened silt, Reed said there were shapes. Large shapes, lying down, not moving. He did not go closer. He said the air down there was wrong, heavy, still, and cold in a way that cold has no right to be. He ordered every man back up the shaft, and he reported what he had seen to the mine superintendent that same night. That was the 8th of January. By the 9th, the shaft was being sealed. Now think about the speed of this. A remote coal mine in the mountains of Kentucky in the middle of winter in 1907. No telephones in most of that region. No fast roads. And yet, within a single day of Reed's report, the resources appeared to permanently seal a 300-foot shaft with concrete. Concrete had to be hauled by rail and wagon into the mountains in January. Men had to be brought in. The entire operation was carried out and completed before most of the local miners even understood the shaft was closing. That is not the speed of a company reacting to a cave-in. That is the speed of something that was already prepared to respond. Someone, somewhere, was waiting for a discovery exactly like this one. And when it came, They moved faster than a mining company in 1907 should have been able to move. Who? Let's look at what happened to the men. The 12 miners who were on the digging crew that night, the men who actually saw the street, were paid in full and dismissed within the week. The payroll records confirm this. 12 final payments, all dated the same 3-day period in January 1907. But it's what the payroll shows after that which matters. Each of those 12 men received a payment that was far larger than their normal wage, several times larger. The company ledger lists it under a single word, settlement. A settlement for what? There was no accident, no injury, no death on record, unless the settlement was for silence. Elias Reed himself never worked in a mine again. According to his grandson's account, he took the money, moved his family 2 counties away, and refused for the rest of his life to discuss why he left a trade he had worked since childhood. The other 11 men scatter from the record entirely. Some appear in later census documents in distant states. Some vanish completely. 12 men saw a city under Kentucky. 12 men were paid to disappear, and the mine that connected them to it was filled with stone. This is where most people would stop. A strange story. An old man's memory. Easy to dismiss. But shaft number 9 is not the only one. In 1912, in West Virginia, a mine called Halloran No. 4 was sealed under nearly identical circumstances. A digging crew reported breaking into worked stone. The shaft was closed within days. The reason listed, gas. In 1898, in Pennsylvania, a coal operation near the Allegheny River was abandoned suddenly after workers reported cut chambers far below the coal seam. The company folded. The land was bought by an unnamed party and fenced. In 1923, in southern Illinois, a mine was sealed after a crew described a floor that was not natural. The official cause, flooding. But the survey taken afterward found the tunnels bone dry. 4 mines, 4 states, 4 different decades, 4 different official excuses, collapse, gas, flooding, abandonment. And every single one seals within days of the same kind of report, men digging for coal, breaking through into fitted stone, into rooms and streets that should not exist. This is not one strange story anymore. This is a pattern. And a pattern means someone is watching for it. So what were they hiding? Consider what a coal mine actually is. It is a vertical cut, straight down, through hundreds of feet of earth that has never been disturbed. It is one of the only ways human beings ever look directly beneath the surface of the old world. We are told that beneath our cities is nothing but rock and soil, bedrock, empty ground. But the miners, the only people who ever actually go down there, keep reporting the same thing. Not empty ground, buildings, streets, stone shaped by hands, an entire layer of the world, buried beneath the one we walk on, a layer from before, and every time an ordinary working man stumbles into it by accident, the response is immediate and identical. Seal the opening, pay the witnesses, rewrite the record. Because the story we have been taught, that history is a straight line, that nothing of consequence existed here before a few centuries ago, cannot survive a single verified street 300 feet underground. One confirmed room beneath Kentucky, and the entire timeline collapses. So the rooms stay sealed, and the men who found them stay silent, and the maps show nothing at all. Now, look at the ground where you live. Somewhere beneath your town, beneath the highways and the foundations and the parking lots, the earth goes down further than anyone has looked. And in 4 states that we know of, and almost certainly in many more that we don't, when someone did look, when a drill or a shaft went deep enough, they found the same thing. Walls, doorways, streets built for people who were larger than us. The last thing Elias Reed told his grandson was this. He said that in the years after, whenever a new mine opened near his home, he would read about it in the paper and wait. Wait to see if it would suddenly close for no reason. And he said, often enough to frighten him, it did. Here is what we know for certain. Shaft number 9 produced coal for 14 months, then vanished from the record in a single day. That is documented. 12 miners received settlement payments far beyond their wages, then left the trade or the state entirely. That is in the ledger. At least 3 other mines, in 3 other states, were sealed under contradictory official explanations within days of similar reports. That is on record. And the ground beneath us has never, not once, been fully explained. Each of these facts alone is a curiosity. Together, they are something else. The miners of shaft number 9 went looking for coal. They found a street, and someone made very sure that the rest of us would never know it was there. If you want to know what other men found beneath the earth, and what happened to the ones who tried to go back, the next chapter is waiting for you. But first, one question. If there is a world buried beneath your feet, older than the one you were taught, would you want them to open it? Or is some ground better left sealed? Tell me in the comments. I read every one.